Good morning and welcome to the First Congregational Church of Pelham United Church of Christ. This morning we will be gathering for Coffeehouse worship in our fellowship hall. If you have never attended this worship service and you might find yourself in the Pelham area the next time we are offering it, we invite you to join us. This is an opportunity to gather at table with others who are also on this life's journey and our faith journey. We share in-depth conversation. We share our faith, and we are gathered in the grace and love of God. So this morning, because we're gathering in Coffeehouse worship, we're not going to stream because we don't have a way to fully include folks in that experience. And we want to make sure that you know that you are held. So I'm going to offer you a brief word this morning, but please know that we are so grateful for this journey with you. This morning, we're going to continue our journey with our worship series, Blessed to Me. And we begin with this call to worship. I am the earth, the air, and the waters. We have no voice. We will speak for you. I am the redwood, the polar bear, the great blue whale. We have no voice. We will speak for you. I am the poor, the homeless, and the orphan. We will speak for you. I am the very young, the very old, and the disenfranchised. We will speak for you. I am a minority because of my size, shape, or color, the language I speak, who I love, or my physical ability. We will speak for you. I'm alone. No, we are not alone. Let us take our hands in each other. We help each other out of our common humanity. We help each other in the hope that others will help us when we become weak or frail. We help each other out of respect for the divine spark that burns within each one of us. Now, beloved, I invite us to use a bit of caution when we say we will speak for others. We will raise their voices. We will speak when they are no longer given that platform. We will invite them into the public circle, but we do not have the power to speak on behalf of another, but we will raise our voices with the disenfranchised, with those who are on the edge, with those who are grieving and wailing. We will join our voices with them and raise them up so that we are all heard. I invite us into a time of rest, time of quiet. I invite you to repeat after me. Thank you, God, for accepting me as I am. Summon me out. Write your name upon my heart and dwell in me. Beloved, know this, that God invites us into the fullness of every moment. Our readings this morning come to us from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 8 and through 10. We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not driven to despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Struck down, but not destroyed. Always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be visible in our bodies. And this poem by Beth Richardson. With gratitude for this day, for this year, for this life, may I be open to memories, good and bad, celebrating the things that I have learned, the love I have given, the lives I have enriched. And may I let go of shortcomings I have discovered, mistakes I have made, the smallness of my heart. Let me carry into the new year only the things I must bring, whether they be hopes or regrets, joys or sorrows. Help me shed what I can before the new journey begins. Walk with me in integrity. in loving kindness, in hospitality, in love. May I be a friend, a loving companion, a blessing to those along the way. I am yours. I share these words every time I do a funeral service, every time I gather folks together to remember. And this comes from our book of worship for the United Church of Christ. We gather in the protective shelter of God's healing. Here we are free to pour out our grief, release our anger, face our emptiness, and to know that God cares. We gather to comfort and support one another in our common loss. We are reminded that Jesus himself wept at the grave of his friend. As we explore Celtic spirituality and explore what it means to feel blessed by God, it can feel a little bit out of sync, I would say, to say that we're going to spend some time with the places that we struggle. And we all struggle, beloved. God is not here to say life is going to be easy, but that God will be with us at every moment. Even in the midst of sorrow, we can feel God's presence and we can come to recognize being blessed in the difficult areas of our lives. We all experience loss at some point, loss of a job, loss of a love, loss of a loved one, loss of a friend, loss of a frenemy, somebody with whom we have unfinished business and they are taken from us. We experience the loss of friendship. We experience the loss of home. We experience loss throughout life. God coming to us in those places does not take away the reality that we experience loss and experience the depth. Hearing Christ say, "Come to me who are heavily laden and burdened, and I will give you rest." Jesus isn't saying, "I'm going to take away your burden, but I will give you rest. Come rest in my arms." Marcia McPhee reminds us that far too often we consider blessings to be just those things that feel good to us. And yet the Celtic tradition extends blessing into those times where we feel loss. And it invites us to ask the questions, what might we find in those circumstances? Not in spite of the circumstance, but perhaps because of them. And she reminds us that blessing does not deny sorrow, but it deepens and it moves us through our experiences of sorrow, of grief, of our places where we're feeling the loss so embodied. Every bit of our cellular structure feels the weight of loss. And so this morning, we're going to be discussing at our tables these questions, and I will put them in the comment section below so that you don't have to try to remember them right now. But these are the questions. What does it mean to know the arrival of a blessing by our release of the breath that we have held so long? Beloved, often when we're in the midst of crisis, just before loss, or as we experience loss, we hold our breath. We almost are afraid to exhale, that somehow if we exhale, then it might seem just too real, too hard, too something, too much. But what would it mean to know the arrival of a blessing by releasing the breath we have held so long, by exhaling? We're going to be invited to share a personal story of a time that we have felt such a blessing of just exhaling, of just allowing ourselves to sink into the moment rather than steeling ourselves against it, but to just sink into it. I invite you to think about a story, about a time in your life when you felt the blessing of giving yourself over to what you were feeling rather than feeling that you had to clean up your act or put yourself into neat, orderly fashion so that it could be palpable for someone else. Because, we're not called to make our lives appealing, palpable for someone else. What is your experience? And what helps you trust the blessing when it comes and to set out on a road that you cannot see? Often when we emerge from grief, the loss of a job, the loss of a loved one through death, or the loss of a loved one through divorce or breakup, or the loss of a job, the loss of an opportunity, whatever the loss is, when we emerge from those, when we exhale and we allow ourselves to come out on the other side, we don't know where we're going. We don't know the road ahead. Everything that we thought we had in place to chart our course has been gone. It's gone in an instant. How do you trust? How do you trust in God in those moments to step out into a future that you have not fully planned, you do not know the course, and you cannot see? It takes great faith. But continue to exhale. Continue to breathe into that space where God is inviting you, where God is holding you. Do what it takes for you to trust, to let go, and to trust that God is walking with you. And what blessings might you find in those circumstances of loss? Not in spite of those circumstances, but perhaps because of that deep presence of God that comes to you in those moments. What might be the blessing that you find or have found in those moments? I don't know what your answers will be, but I look forward to meeting with you and discussing those and to sharing where it is that God has been with us, not just in our high spaces, but all those moments where we experience the depth of loss. Beloved, I invite you into a space of lifting to God those things that weigh on your heart, those things that uh, give you joy, those places where you find yourself, your full, raw, fully authentic self. We're not together to share those, but I invite you to come to God in that space. Let us feel God holding us. And let us pray. God, we thank you. We thank you that you not only meet us in the joy of the day, but you meet us in those places of fear, grief, of loss. And there, whether we are met in our joy or in our sorrow, you hold us, you carry us. God, we ask that you would surround us with your grace, with your compassion. Wherever we are, whatever it is that we are feeling, experiencing in this moment, we ask for your abiding presence. And hear us wherever we are, whenever we are, as we join together, praying the prayer that Christ taught, praying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Beloved, we will end our time in person as we will end our time here virtually. This is again sharing a benediction. It's a poem by Beth Richardson that we have adapted slightly for our situation. So as we step from this place into the next places, whatever they may be for you, for us, may God's comfort to you in the sadness, in the mournful places of your soul. God's courage to you in your weakness, facing turmoil, facing trial. God's love to you in your pain, in the sadness of the small one who weeps inside of you. God's presence to you in your loneliness, in the dark, empty corners of your heart. God's peace, God's comfort, God's love, God's blessing be yours. Thank you for spending this time together, and I look forward to seeing you either in person or online again. May God be with you.